Now then, welcome to the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachuku. First, let's take a look at the highlights. President Muhammadu Buhari signs a 2023 budget today. Governor Soludo decries killing of community leader and others. Residents protest funds takeover of community in Kwara. And on the foreign scene, far-right Israeli minister visits Flashpoint site. Details now. The World News at 12 begins with President Muhammadu Buhari signing the 2023 appropriation bill into law. President Buhari signed the 2023 transition budget this morning at the council chambers of the presidential villa Abuja in the presence of Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, Senate President Ahmed Lawan, Speaker of the House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila, and other members of the Federal Executive Council. Speaking at the event, the president said his administration would speed up critical infrastructure projects nationwide as it races towards the finish line on May 29, 2023. He noted that the budget is 21.83 trillion naira aggregate expenditure, an increase of 1.32 trillion naira over the initial executive proposal of 20.51 trillion naira. You recall that the Senate President Ahmed Lawan revealed to journalists at the weekend after a closed-door meeting with President Buhari at the presidential villa that the president would sign the 2023 budget today, being Tuesday, January 3, 2023. In another development, the Anambra State Governor Chukwuma Soludo has condemned the killing of the President General of the Obosi community, Ike Okolo. Okolo was gunned down by yet-to-be-identified assailants in his car in Obosi community on Monday. While in Oka, one man was shot dead on January the 2nd, and in Ifiti, about 2 persons were also said to have been gunned down. In Nodu Okunu community, 4 men sitting in a compound on the New Year's Day while being entertained by their host were shot dead by suspected cultists. There have been a series of court-related attacks in several communities in the state in recent time, but it seemed to have increased during the Yuletide. In a press statement by the press secretary to the governor, Christian Aburume, today, Soludo decried the incident. He said during the festive season, Anambra State enjoyed the best Christmas ever in decades as it was traffic-free with a new system of traffic control put in place by the government during the festive season, with Anambra Youth Volunteers and the State Traffic Management Agency working 24 hours at all critical points to control traffic. Elsewhere, the residents of Gerewu community in Ilorin West local government area of Kwara State have accused the management of the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria FAN of moves to displace them from their homes. About 5,000 residents from about 3,000 households raised the alarm during a protest calling on the Chief of Staff to President Muhammadu Buhari, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, Kwara State Governor Abdurrahman Abdurrazak, the Emir of Ilorin Alhaji Ibrahim Sulu Gambari, and all well-meaning Kwarans to intervene in the matter. Displaying placards with various inscriptions, the protesters said they had lived in the area for decades and labored for years to erect their buildings, only for the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria to start erecting a fence around their homes. Speaking on behalf of landlords in the community, Abdulaziz Taufik alleged that all efforts to meet the fund's management had proved abortive as they had remained evasive over the matter. He said neither a notice was served on the community nor document presented to them by FAN relating to the land in question. Acting chairman of the Gerewu community, Alhaji Ibrahim Shuaib, said there had never been any indication that the land belongs to FAN. Magaji of Gerewu, Alhaji Ibrahim Amusa, who corroborated the submissions of the protesters, said the community had existed for close to 100 years. In the meantime, more criticisms on Monday trailed former President Olusegun Obasanjo's endorsement of Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi. Official spokesperson of the All Progressives Congress Presidential Campaign Council and Minister of State of Labour and Employment Festus Keyamo said Obasanjo was within his rights to endorse Obi. He said the endorsement meant that Obasanjo does not think his former deputy and People's Democratic Party presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar deserved to be president. Keyamo also believes the former president's choice does not affect APC's presidential flag bearer Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. The presidency also disclosed that former President Olusegun Obasanjo is frustrated. Reacting to the ex-leader's endorsement of Labour Party's presidential candidate Peter Obi and his attack on President Muhammadu Buhari, They said Obasanjo's constant attacks were born out of jealousy. Also taking an exception to Obi's endorsement is Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike, who described it as a stain on the People's Democratic Party candidate Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. Also, a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress APC in Ondo State, Dr. Segun Abraham, said Obasanjo's support for Obi is inconsequential. Furthermore, the advisor, media, communications and public affairs of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, Dele Alake, chided Obasanjo for what he described as his false claim of mentorship. Reacting to this is Alexa Wilcox, a political analyst, social commentator and civic advocate. Let's take a listen to him.
Image for himself, not to give up on anything, because the Obasanjo was a former head of state, a former president, and so he cannot be said to be a nobody. But again, he has this larger than life image of himself, and he just comes out to create some controversy which may not have any significance to the current realities on ground. In 2019, Obasanjo endorsed against his own line of duty, his own position, endorsed his former deputy, his former vice president, Atiku Abubakar, as the presidential candidate of the PDP, and endorsed him as the president. And for what happened? Monumental failure. So him coming to endorse, and he had tried the third force option some time ago, and it didn't work out. So him trying to endorse Peter Obi, as far as I'm concerned, is an exercise in futility, because he has no structure, he has no lieutenants, he has no foot soldiers. He's just an individual of his own that thinks that he owns a lot. Yes, not to take away anything from Obasanjo being a former head of state, a former president, a statesman, but politically, I think Obasanjo is a paper. It's just a paperweight politician. He has no structure, he has no followership. He just comes up and, yes, as an elder statesman, the culture I'm making judgment that may not translate to anything as far as the night is concerned. If you're endorsing somebody, you're endorsing because you have a followers that will follow your footsteps. Who is the passenger's followers? He must just make some people happy, create some political upheaval within the system, make some supporters who will be happy. So Obasanjo endorse your candidate, and that's where it ends. It will not translate to any additional significant additional vote to be. And of course, that again puts play to the fact that his former deputy is not fit for the job. If Obasanjo will not support his deputy, which is supported in 2019, that means his deputy was not fit for the job. And so that also gives credence to the fact that Obasanjo endorsement does not cause Parliament to go in any way. Obasanjo has always been a PDP. He has endorsed PDP candidates and they lost. P2B was with Atiku in 2019, and Obasanjo endorsed them and they lost. So if Obasanjo is endorsing P2B now, whatever remnants of his followers that are in PDP, which is his main party, will now vote for P2B. So that again splits Atiku's votes more, and then he finds himself in a political wilderness. So I agree with Professor Skayamu. Obasanjo endorsement of Obi doesn't have any significance, any real significance. Not to say he might not come out 1 or 2 votes, but when I say real significance, and again, whatever significance it will have potent, will end up hurting the article other than Bola Tinubu. That's just the position.
Meanwhile, presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, has said Nigeria's survival as a nation depends on the direction it takes in the year 2023. Peter Obi, therefore, has called on all Nigerians to unite their efforts in the journey of taking back the nation from the cold hands of corruption, insecurity and unproductivity. According to Obi in his New Year message to Nigerians, 2023 is a very critical year that will determine the next direction of the nation. He said Nigeria cannot continue on a retrogressive path because it will result in its total collapse. He therefore called on Nigerians to support him to save the nation, restating his commitment to securing and unifying as well as making it shift from consumption to production. In another development, a trigger-happy Nigerian Army officer Abubakar Idris, attached to the Presidential Guard Brigade on Monday, opened fire on some motorcyclists in Abuja, killing a passenger on the spot. VOP News gathered that the incident happened around 1 a.m. close to a bridge along Agui-Runsi Way, Asokoro, where Idris and his colleagues were stationed for guard duty. Sources privy to the incident confirmed to journalists that the deceased was taken to the Asokoro District Hospital, Abuja, for an autopsy. Another source revealed that the soldiers fled the scene, abandoning the corpse until the arrival of the police. You're currently listening to the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. After the break, we'll bring you foreign stories.
FM Lagos. 90.3 FM Lagos.
Welcome back. This is still the World News at 12 and Voice of the People 90.3 FM. On stories outside the shores of Nigeria, Palestinians have condemned a visit to a contested holy site in Jerusalem by far-right Israeli minister as an unprecedented provocation. National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir, who has called for a harder line towards the Palestinians, walked around the site surrounded by police. Competing claims to the compound bitterly divide Israel and the Palestinians. Tensions have risen with the advent of Israel's new nationalistic government. Mr. Ben-Gvir's visit was his first public act since the government led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was sworn in 5 days ago. The hilltop site is the most sacred place in Judaism and third holiest in Islam. It is known to Jews as the Temple Mount, site of two biblical temples, and to Muslims as Haram al-Sharif, the site of Muhammad's ascent to heaven. The entire compound is considered to be Al-Aqsa Mosque for Muslims. Jews and other non-Muslims are allowed to go to the compound but not pray, though Palestinians see visits by Jews as attempts to change the delicate status quo. Mr. Ben-Gvir, leader of the Otzma Yehudit, that is Jewish Power Party, has long said that he wants to bring about a change to the rules to allow Jewish worship at the site. Meanwhile, Israeli forces have killed a child in the West Bank city of Bethlehem today. The Palestinian Health Ministry reported as Israel said police officers fired on people throwing Molotov cocktails. The Health Ministry announced that the death of the child, Adam Assam Shakar Ayad, aged 15, with a bullet in the chest, was fired by the occupation soldiers during the aggression on Bethlehem at dawn today. Israel's military said rocks and Molotov cocktails were thrown at border police officers during an operation in Bethlehem's Delish refugee camp. The official Palestinian agency stated that clashes erupted when Israeli forces entered Dasheh in the northern occupied West Bank to search houses. Ayad is the third Palestinian killed by Israeli forces in the West Bank since the start of the year. On Monday, 2 Palestinian men were shot dead in the northern city of Jenin when clashes broke out as the army demolished the homes of 2 Palestinians accused of killing an Israeli soldier in September. More than 150 Palestinians and 26 Israelis were killed last year across Israel and the West Bank, including Israeli-annexed East Jerusalem. In December, the United Nations said 2022 was the deadliest year in the West Bank since its records began in 2005. And now to wrap up the World News at 12, let's take a look once again at the headlines. You heard that President Muhammadu Buhari has signed the 2023 budget this morning. Governor Charles Soludo has declared the killing of community leader and others in Anambra State. Residents protest funds takeover of community in Kwara. And on the first, you also heard that far-right Israeli minister visits Flashpoint site in Jerusalem. And that is a wrap on the World News at 12 on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachuku. Do follow our social media handles at VOP 903 FM. Good afternoon.